Hey, while you're in the first 5 seconds of the video, go ahead, like and subscribe.
Man, how you doing? I'm Asa. Nice to meet you. What's going on, man? How you doing? Y'all feel free to take a seat.
This is my mom. This is my nephews.
Hello. Nice to meet y'all. Y'all ready to go? Soldier Stephen, if you could hit that light. You gotta hit that other. So, we out here today, we going over Deuteronomy 28 real quick. I'm gonna start off with the young man, if you don't mind. What do y'all know about the Bible? Either one of y'all. Nothing. You ever thought about reading it? Be honest. You read it before? What about you? No. Why? Why no? Be honest. What you think it went about us, or it was for white people? Ain't interest you. That's an honest answer. What about you? I know you say you read it, but before that, when you heard about the Bible. I came to the young men because they the next generation. Yes. They supposed to lead. And I wanted to hear them because they young. Want to hear where the youth's mind is at. Now, I want to ask you, man, what's your name, man?
Vanessa.
Vanessa. Miss Vanessa. What was your understanding of the Bible?
That's a lot of books in the Bible.
Like, did you think it was about us, or?
Oh, okay, pertaining to. Well, no, I never considered that until my son brought it to my attention. You know.
But outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we here today, we're going to show you that the Bible is, in fact, about us, and it shows why we go through the things that we go through. So this is the Deuteronomy 28 presentation. It's a very important chapter because it's going to tie up a lot of loose ends that we got, a lot of questions that we had. Like I used to, me myself, you remember when all the young brothers was getting killed, like Tamir Rice, Philando Castile. Remember we had that year where a lot of brothers was getting killed, different situations, Mike Brown. I know me myself, I'm like, why does this keep happening to us? Is we just supposed to have this happen to us? Is we got the short end of the stick? Are we just getting picked on? This is what I thought. But the Bible is going to show us why those things happen. Go ahead. So this is our mission statement here. We got Israel United in Christ. Israel United in Christ was founded in 2003. So what is Israel United in Christ's purpose? What is our purpose? To teach the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who they are according to the Bible. Because what's the saying that they say, Ms. Vanessa? You probably heard it. If you don't know where you been, you don't know where you going. So we have to know where we come from. Next slide. Okay, so going right into Deuteronomy 28. If you could read that verse 15.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So really quick, anybody know who wrote that? Who was the person that wrote that? That's good. That's why we here. So the person that wrote that actually is Moses. So God gave Moses a message to who? The Israelites. Give me Deuteronomy 1:1.
Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
So why did I go here? I went there to show who's the audience. Because I know me myself, you know, trying to go to church. We've all tried that. You trying to get your life together, they say go to church. In church, they saying, oh, the Bible's for everybody. But when you really read it, no, it's a specific audience. Those men that wrote those words, they speaking to specific people. They not talking to everybody. So now we got the audience. The audience is who?
The Israelites.
Israelites. Let's go back. Verse 15.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments.
So stop right there. So now we know it's Moses speaking. He's speaking to the Israelites. The message here he is giving them, okay, God said, if you don't listen to him and do everything he said, bad things are going to happen to you. Because that's the agreement he gave. Verse 15 through 68 is the bad things that will happen if we don't listen. Verse 1 through 14 in this 28th chapter is the blessings. Read.
And his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So all these bad things we about to read, Moses told the Israelites, if you don't listen, all this stuff gonna happen to you. Now by us reading these bad things, I want y'all to tell me who is connecting with that. Next slide. Okay. Deuteronomy 28 verse 16. We're gonna get into these images. By any chance, before you read that, you in school right now, sir? College, high school? When they talk about black history, where do they start our history off at? Slavery. Do they go before that? It's always slavery, right? I want to make sure because they changing things in schools. Always slave ships. What happened a little bit, Jim Crow, civil rights movement, and then they bring it up today. It's always fast. It's not long and drawn out like it is when they talk about the so-called forefathers of America, the men who started America, George Washington. With us, it's boom, boom, boom. Just like the Black History Month. It's the shortest month of the year, but that's the month about black people. It's short, it's quick, out the way. What about you? You in elementary school, right? Middle school? Same thing. When they talk about black history, do they talk about what happened before we got put on the boat? What they talk about? You don't really know. That's how it is. We go to school. It's a lot of stuff that they was teaching me that I don't remember. Meaning what? They're not teaching meaningful things. This is meaningful. Read that verse 16.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
So it says, cursed shalt thou be in the city. When you look at any race of people, who is cursed in the city? Black people, Hispanics, Native Americans. We always live in the poorest conditions. We always live in poverty-stricken neighborhoods. For example, y'all know what a food desert is? You ever heard that before, a food desert? So a food desert, you heard it before, right, Miss Vanessa? What's a food desert?
Lacking properly nutritious food, like fruits and vegetables and things of that nature.
When they close down a grocery store in your neighborhood and that's the only one, now it's a food desert because you got to travel far to get some food. That happens to us. That's us being cursed in the city. How was we cursed in the city back then? Here's some examples. Y'all familiar with Tulsa, Oklahoma? What happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Massacre. Massacre of what, though?
Is that when they killed all the black people and took their homes and stuff?
Burn the homes. They ain't take them. You know what this was? This was Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, believe it or not, we had our own community. We had our own bus station, cab service, barbers, lawyers, doctors. We had the whole thing. And what happened was racist whites came in, bombed the place, murdered people, destroyed the whole city.
Got away with it.
And got away with it, right? It's actually a picture, if you look it up. It's a little boy holding his little sister's body, his little sister's headless body. Her head is missing from the bombs. This is why I say, I asked about what they teach in school, because it's the same thing. It's not just slavery, slave ships, Jim Crow, and that's it. No, it's stuff that happened to us. And you see the Bible is depicting that. We're the only people cursed in the city. We cursed in the city today, and we was cursed in the city back then. This right here, have y'all ever heard about this here? Lake Lanier, same situation. Oscarville, Georgia, black community got destroyed. It was a rumor, they said a black man assaulted a white woman. And you know, back then, they say a black woman touched a white woman. I know Miss Vanessa know. It's over with. They not asking no questions, nothing. So now, this once black community is now a lake now. It's water there. You wouldn't even know that that was another black community, just like Wall Street. Read that again.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
So it said, cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. How else was we cursed in the city back then? When slavery was at its height, wherever you went in these 50 states, you was a slave. If you ran away, they put a wanted sign out there for you. They had money on your head. Find my slave. They caught you, they lynched you, hanged you. Y'all ever heard of buck breaking? That's something where they was raping the men during slavery. It wasn't just the women. We're going to get to that later. These are things that happened to us in all these cities. Wow, we was in slavery. Then it said, what? Cursed shall thou be what?
Cursed shalt thou be in the field.
When you hear that, who was cursed in the field? We were. Now you reading the Bible and you can connect it with images. Cursed shall thou be in the field. You see they have a young man here, he looked like he about 2 years old. I got a 2-year-old. Imagine that, your 2-year-old is picking cotton. And you know when you pick cotton, it has pricks in it. So your fingers getting cut, they didn't care. Give me that real quick in Deuteronomy 50. The nature of the so-called white man. The nature of the white man. Because you're not, you have no soul when you do this to somebody. And the Bible tells you the nature of the people that did this to us. Read that, verse 50, I believe it is. People of fierce countenance.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance.
Fierce countenance means they have a fierce behavior. They are cold-hearted. Because you got to be cold-hearted to do this. Not only you got a young man, a baby. It's a young lady right here. Another young lady. So we all was slaving in those fields together. Read on.
Which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young.
They didn't care how old you was. Didn't matter if you was young or old. You was in that field, and you could see the different age ranges here. You can see the different age ranges. They didn't care. You gonna pick their cotton. And then if you don't make your quota, it's a punishment after that. Go back to verse 16.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
And what y'all seeing as you reading, and as you seeing these images, is not just, okay, we was cursed back then. No, we cursed today. You see it follow us today. You got images to match up what the Bible is saying. How we cursed in the field. We have these big jobs. Some people make $30 an hour, $25 an hour, but you can never make ends meet. You barely can survive. You got this job, but you still in line there when you struggling to pay your bills. That's us cursed in the field. Something else, a fun fact, Mexicans work the most hours out of anybody. That's something that they don't tell you. We get the lowest jobs, we get the scraps, we get the crumbs. While what? The other races of people live in luxury. You see downtown, we don't live like that. They don't come through and install new stuff for us. They shut a grocery store down, like the grocery store on Madison and what is that, Washington? Right from Pulaski, they closed their Aldi down. Oh well. But now these people is in a situation. Bible telling you who we are. Next slide. Now we have more images. The red summer of 1919. These is actual events you can look up that happened to our people. More images showing us cursed in the city. Detroit destroyed summer of 1967. If you ever saw that movie Detroit, that's what that's talking about. These is things that actually happened, but we didn't know why it happened. This is showing you what? We are the Israelites. This happened to us because we did not listen to God. Read that, verse 17.
Verse 17. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
So it says, cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. When we have businesses, a lot of black businesses don't last. Matter of fact, when stuff like this happen, riots, everything get burned down. Am I right or wrong? Everything get burned down. You had black business owners when they was rioting and looting all through the west side, all through the south side, and a lot of their businesses got burned down. We never can keep money because your basket in your store is a place where you store things. During slavery, we couldn't keep nothing. Everything we had got taken from us. Next slide. Big images right here. I want y'all to take a look at this. This right here is the Spaniards killing women and children and feeding them to their dogs. The Spanish, because a lot of our brothers, because those are our brothers, the Hispanics, the Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, those are our brothers. It's no coincidence we always live next to each other. They put us right next to each other. We up here fighting each other, but we was getting oppressed by the same people. We are the Israelites. This is happening to us because we wasn't listening to God. Read that one more time. Read verse 18.
Verse 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body.
So the fruit of your body is going into what? Your children. So our children will have these things happen to them. So you had the Spaniards killing what? Killing who? The Hispanics. This is something that really happened. It's a book called The Destruction of the Indies, showing you what the Caucasian man did when he came to this side of the earth. How he was killing Indians, how he was killing Hispanics, taking their gold, taking over their lands, raping their women. These is things that happen. This is real history. They don't talk about this in school. In school, like I said, slave ships, civil rights, Jim Crow, that's it. It's a lot of stuff that happened. I see you looking at this. This is something that happened. Gator bait. You know the history behind that? What? I'm gonna help you. So during this time period, 1800s and so on, slave masters, just the white men in general during that time, with an alligator, you can use the alligator for what? You can make clothes. Like the old heads, they like their gator skin, shoes and boots and stuff, right? So in order for them to catch the alligator, they would take our babies, put it on a rope, throw it in the water. When the alligator bite the baby, that's when they would pull the alligator in, kill it, hit it in the head, and then take it and use its skin for whatever. This is what they was doing. And not only was they doing this, they would make postcards like this and send it to each other. You know how you get postcards? You go to Walgreens, they got the postcards. This would be a postcard. This is what they was doing to us. This is what they don't show. But don't forget this. The Bible is telling us about this. Again, the church is not telling us this. We need to know the truth. Read that again.
Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land.
It said, cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. So your children will go through these type of hardships. How is our children cursed today? Bad education, dying left and right, and foster care, you name it. Our children is still cursed. The fruit of our body is still being cursed. Read on.
The increase of thy kind.
So it said, cursed shall be the fruit of thy land. Next slide. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy land. Now, remember, we teaching the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who they are, that they are the Israelites. So you may say, how are the Native Americans the Israelites? Well, here you go. They fit the curses in the Bible. These bad things identify who the people of God are. So let's look at this. What does this say? Indian land for sale. Get a home of your own, easy payments, find lands in the West. Who had this land first? So how are you going to come here, take somebody's land, and then sell it? Imagine if I came to your house, I walk in there and say, I like this house, I'm finna sell this. Why are you here? Why are you still here? That's what they did to the Native Americans. They're still here. What do you mean? No, they came and they took it, they murdered them. You familiar with the smallpox blankets? I never heard of that. Gave the Native Americans blankets with diseases on it, with sickness on it. Infected hundreds of them, killed hundreds of them to take this land. This is stuff you can look up yourself. White men came over here and killed millions of the buffaloes. And that was their food source. Read that verse 18 again.
Verse 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land.
So this is showing you what? The Bible is a true book. We are people of the book. The Native Americans are your brothers. The Hispanics are your brothers. Why? We all fit what the Bible is talking about here. The Bible is showing you who the people of God are. Next slide. Verse 19. Let's read that verse.
Verse 19. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out.
You know what that's talking about? Bad things follow us when we born all the way up until we die. So I know Miss Vanessa's familiar with this. If your parents die and they got debt, where that debt go?
Well, not now, right?
No, they go to you. If they got debt, then people gonna call you like, yeah, we're sorry about the loss, but we need our money. We go through that. Not only today, but even back then. This is Tony Thompson. He's born and died a slave. Read that one more time.
Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in.
So you curse when you born, read.
And cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
You curse when you die. Bad things follow you when you're born and when you die. Here's another example here. Matilda McCreer, transatlantic slave trade survivor. Meaning she was one of the ones that was on the boat. She lived all the way up until the time she died. She seen what was happening on the boat. That's us being cursed. So now we understand, okay, these things ain't just happening to us because we black, the color of our skin. No, this is happening because we are the people of God and we're not listening to God. It's just that simple. Can we move that down so we can see that last image? Go back to that slide. Can we move that? That protect me. Pop up right here. If it's not moving, we can just go to the next slide. So, just from off what y'all saying, are you convinced that the Bible is talking about you? It's not talking about nobody else. So, nobody could pick up the book and say, oh, this is talking about the French. No, it's talking about the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We are the only ones that go through these things. But why are we going through those things? Anybody paying attention? Why? We forgot the why. Because we didn't listen to God. You can't forget that. As we going through this slide, you cannot forget that. These things happen because we didn't follow God's rules. Here we go. Zora Neale Hurston, transatlantic slave trade survivor. So you have many of us born and died slaves. Next slide. Read that verse 20.
Verse 20. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thy hand unto,
So
or to do.
hold on. We might look at ourselves today and we might be like, man, it's saying like everything we touch, it just collapse. You can't forget why, because we're not following God's rules. This was one of the bad things that he said, I'm gonna cause everything you touch to fall. Read on.
Until thou be destroyed.
Until you be destroyed. We are in a destroyed state. Look at us. We get high, we get drunk. Not us in this room. I'm talking about us as a people. Look at us. You look outside. You roll down Madison. You got our people laying over, strung out on drugs. How do we get like that? Because we didn't listen to God. So that's punishment coming from God. Because being God's people is special things that he needs you to do. Read.
And until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me.
When you forsake something, you leave it alone. You say to hell with it. I don't want to hear that. That's what we did. So because we didn't want to listen to him, he said, okay, this is your punishment. Just like if you got a curfew, you don't come in at the right time, grandma take the game. That's your what? That's your punishment. You don't get your straight A's, grandma say you can't go outside for a week. That's your what? Your punishment. You follow what I'm saying? So this is God's punishment. Next slide. Read that verse again.
Verse 20. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke.
So now we get images of that cursing, vexation, and rebuke. I was just talking about this. This is one of the things that led me to find out, okay, who am I? Why is these things happening? Ted Landsmark assaulted in Boston. So you got a brother here getting assaulted. This is stuff that's common. We can't forget, Breonna Taylor got killed in her house. Then police didn't have a warrant, kicked the door in, shot up her house, killed her while she was asleep. These is things that happen to us. Here you go. Another young brother died. And you got to remember, I'm taking you back to that time because remember it was happening back to back. So you like, what's going on? The Bible telling us what's going on. We God's people. We got to come back to what God says. Who said in the video what happened to him? He was going for a jog in his neighborhood. White men decided that they was going to what? Harm him. Lied and said, what they say, he was trying to break in or something. He was trying to break in the house. He was going for a jog. 3 white men jumped him. In the midst of him fighting them back, one of them had a shotgun, shot him close range and killed him. He was going for a jog. These things happen to us. Why? We are the people of God. We're not listening to God. Therefore, these things are happening to us. Next slide. Read that scripture.
Verse 21. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee.
Oh, hold on. That word right there, pestilence. Who ever heard that word before? Pestilence. What is that talking about? Pestilence. Pestilence is talking about disease. Read that one more time.
The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee.
So he's going to make disease cleave unto you. Cleave meaning stick to you. Who's the highest in diabetes? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Who's the highest in AIDS, STDs? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We the highest in every type of sickness you can think of. Read.
Until he hath consumed thee from off the land.
Many of us die from these diseases. Y'all got family members who they didn't got so sick they probably didn't had to get defibrillators in their chest. You know what I'm talking about? The little thing for your heart. Pacemaker. Have to lose arms, legs. They in wheelchairs for the rest of their life. These things happen to us. Why? We don't keep God's commandments. You know.
Whither thou goest to possess it.
So these things will follow us wherever we go. Bad health. That's a curse from God because we're not listening to what God says. Even that, you know, God got a diet for us. What food we can and can't eat. A lot of the food we eat, he told us not to eat it in the first place. Therefore, sickness is happening. Next slide. Remember this. Swine flu. Yes. Swine flu. This was affecting a lot of our people. Wait, it says swine flu. Get Leviticus 11 and 7. Because I just said something. God got a diet for us. We're going to go into the diet. Whoever heard we ain't supposed to eat pig? But ain't nobody show you. There's a lot of stuff I got shown as a young man, but you like, okay, that's what you say, prove it. So now you getting proof. God said not to eat that. Anything God say not to eat, if I eat it, chances are something bad gonna happen to me, right? That's just common sense. Don't eat this, I eat it, something gonna happen to me. Read that.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7.
This is Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 7. So if you tell somebody, hey bro, we ain't supposed to eat no pig, you can show them right here. God said don't eat no pig. Read.
And the swine, though he divided the hoof, and be cloven footed.
So it's telling you the requirements of the food we can and can't eat. So he got a hoof foot like a horse. Read.
Yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you.
He doesn't chew the cud. Meaning he don't eat his food. He got that other stomach to clean the food out like a cow would. God said he's unclean. Not only that, a pig is a nasty animal to eat from. A lot of diseases stay in their body. You know what they feed them on farms? Slop. A bucket or whatever. And then you got to think you're cooking that and you eating that. So it's no shock why we get sick. God said don't eat that. Here we have here, Zika virus. A lot of our people were suffering from that. A lot of Hispanics in South America, I believe, was suffering from that. Africa suffering from that. Ebola, a lot of us was getting sick from that. COVID-19, we can't forget this recent. COVID-19, a lot of our people was dying from that. Y'all know some people that died from that? No, I did. People was dying. People you wouldn't even expect. And if you already was sick, COVID took you out. You had underlying health issues, it was over with. But let's not forget why. Read that again.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Hearken means listen. If you don't listen to God, read.
To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses.
These are the curses. These are the curses. If you don't listen to me, all these bad things I said that was going to happen, they're going to happen to you. Drop that. Next slide. So now we're seeing. We got imagery to go with what the Bible says. Verse 22, let's read that.
Verse 22. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword.
So it said, remember, if we don't listen, bad things are going to happen to you. One of the bad things, he said consumption, and with a fever. He talking about more sickness, inflammation. You know when you get certain sicknesses and you swell up, more sickness. And then he said with a sword, so you're going to be getting killed. These is things that's going to be happening, all because you're not doing what he said. Read on.
And with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
Blasting and mildew. Whenever we had land, our land never lasted. There was some of us that was still working the crops after slavery, but our farms ain't last. It's not that many black farms. Name me some. It's not that many. And it said these things is going to pursue us until we perish. Meaning wherever we go, we're going to be going through these things. Why? Because we're the people of God and we're not listening to God. Next slide. Verse 23, let's read that.
Verse 23. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron.
You know what that's talking about? He ain't talking about you going to literally have metal over you and metal under you. Shackles and chains. What we have on our neck and our feet. Shackles and chains. Let's get some images. This is real. That's why I asked y'all about school. They don't go over this. The Bible is talking about this. depicting us what happened, shackles and chains. We just read it in the Bible. A front and profile view of an African's head with the mouthpiece and necklace. You know why they made this? Why y'all think they made this device? What is it for? When you try to run away, you get caught in the bushes. That's what the hook's for. Look at that. It's heaven above him iron, and under his feet brass. Shackles and chains. The Bible just said that. Now you know the Bible, the true book. Next slide. More images. And then some of the devices that they made when they had us in slavery, they would do stuff like put bells on. What's going to happen if I run? They're going to shake and they're going to ring. Remember they had bloodhounds, little dogs that could sniff real good. So the dog hit the bells, dog running this way, slave master running that way. That's to catch you. He got bigger bells on his. These is real things that they use to torment us, to make our life hell. Next slide. Read that verse, Deuteronomy 28:24. Let's read that.
Verse 24. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Talking about our land. When some of us tried to be sharecroppers, it did not last. Our crops dying, animals dying. That's why it's not that many black farmers. It's hard to be a black farmer. There's food shortages going on right now as we speak. There's countries that's going through famine. And guess what? We were suffering the same thing. Even today, you know a small example of famine? These clothes stores, these stores closing. I don't know if y'all familiar, they just closed like 4 Walmarts. So if you close the Walmart, I live in Inglewood, and you close the only Walmart in Inglewood, where I'm finna go? That's a brief preview of famine. It ain't full-fledged where it ain't no food, because that's coming. But that's a taste of famine. If we can't get no food, now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna feed my family. That's how you get robbing. That's how you get stealing. That's how you get people carjacking, doing all these things because they're trying to feed somebody. These is the levels that the world is going to. Next slide. So here's some examples right here. Gold and cobalt mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Look at this. These are conditions that our people going through. Digging for gold, digging for diamonds. This is the stuff that we go through as a people. All our people, all other people, I should say, I'm sorry. All other people are not going through these things. Only us. Next slide.
Verse 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies.
You know what this is talking about? Way back then when we was ruling, when we went to war, we would always win when we was listening to God. We would always win. You ever heard of King David in the Bible? You come from King David. We come from King David. When we would go to war, we would win. But God said, if you stop listening to what I tell you, you're going to lose every war. Let's bring this up to today. The same people we used to rule over, they became our slave masters. Today, what is this getting smitten before your enemies? Philandro Castile, Tamir Rice, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray. That's getting smitten before your enemies. Read on.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them.
That's why today you have one Caucasian man that happened to be a police officer. He could have 200 brothers on the corner run. We don't have that brave spirit anymore. You know what else that's going into? Remember on the slave plantation, it'd be 2 white slave masters and 300 of us. Big, strong, but they terrified of this man. God said he's going to take that warrior spirit off of us. Even when we try to do anything, we don't have no drive to do anything. We scared to try to do something new. He took that warrior spirit off, now we all got fearful spirits. Read on.
and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
So when slavery happened, what they don't tell you in school, we got shipped all over the earth. When I say all over the earth, they were sending boats everywhere. Some of us got took to England. Some of us got took to France. Some of us got took to Europe, Russia. We got put into slavery all throughout the world. Families got broken apart. This is what happened to us. Next slide. So this is a great image. This is the calendar atlas of 1375. You look up this time period that's known as the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. They say it's called the Dark Ages because people was getting sick. You ever heard that before? That's not why. Dark Ages because we was ruling. Black people was ruling. That's why it's called the Dark Ages. Next slide. But what are we showing here? Trans-Saharan slave trade. So you heard of the transatlantic slave trade with us being taken from the west coast of Africa to America, right? This trans-Saharan slave trade, you know what's putting us in slavery in this one? Arabs. Arabs and Africans. So you had one slave trade taking us over here, and then you had another one taking us as far as China, India, and so on in the east. So some of us, we try to be Muslims, but we don't know about this. They don't teach this in school. They might say, didn't some of the slaves come off the boat and they was Muslim? Yes, they was Muslim because the Arabs forced them to be Muslim. Just like they forced us to be Christians in slavery. Next slide. So this is showing you a map. You see all these places they were sending us? Look at this. Imagine how many families is broke up. You got a boat come here. Then you got a boat come all the way over here to Arabia, Egypt. This is showing you when the Bible said removed into all kingdoms of the earth. We really was separated and scattered over all the earth. So think about this. You married. What's your name again, sir? What's your name again, sir? Marion. So think about it. You got a wife and 2 kids. They take you, come here. You going all the way United States. They take your wife, we're going to take her over here to Arabia. They take your son, we're going to take him to Brazil. Then they take your daughter, they say, we're going to take her to Tunisia. They just ripped your whole family apart. And they did this over and over and over and over again. The Bible is showing you this. Next slide. Read that.
Verse 26. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air.
You know why this is very deep right here? A lot of times when we would get killed, they would leave our bodies out there. You ever saw Birth of a Nation? You should watch that movie. What about you? That's a movie about Nat Turner, Miss Vanessa. That's a movie that y'all should sit down and watch. Birth of a Nation. It's about Nat Turner. But I'll bring it up why. Nat Turner was the slave master's wagon driver. As they was riding the wagon through the woods, they still had a brother hung from a noose with his head blew off. Read that one more time.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth.
So this is what happened too when we would go to war. Our bodies would just lay out there. When you read the Bible, you read about a prophet named Tobit. He used to have to sneak while we was in slavery and bury the bodies so they wouldn't just sit out there. Fast forward to today, brothers get shot. It takes forever for the ambulance to come. You ever seen that before? It takes forever. I done seen sometimes where they just throw the white sheet, everybody standing out there as red tape. It's like, why is this body still right here? The Bible showing you that. Why these things are happening. How these things happen. Read on.
And no man shall fray them away.
No man shall fray them away. Ain't nobody coming to pick that body up. Body just sitting out there. Read. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Here goes some more images. Now we getting more images. This right here is images from Wounded Knee Massacre. That's a war where the Native Americans was battling against the Caucasians. And you see right here what they was doing. Look at this. Just dumping bodies in a ditch and leaving it there. That's not a proper burial. These is things that was done to our people. More images. And just like the postcard with the gator bait, this is what they would do. They would take pictures. This is funny to them. This is a moment for them to rejoice over. They taking pictures. You can even see pictures of them lynching us. You got white women and white kids just standing there cheesing. Last a burnt body hanging from a rope. Because not only would they beat you, kill you, lynch you hanging from the noose, they would set your body on fire. You can look this stuff up. It's a book called 100 Years of Lynching. That's the one, right? 100 Years of Lynching. Go look at that book when you get time. Next slide. Here's more images. The Spanish doing this to the Hispanics. I know a lot of our Hispanic brothers, they say, I'm from Spain. No, you're not. This is the Spanish sicking dogs on them. There's another image showing where they had a pregnant woman and they were sicking the dog on her to eat her stomach. This is what the Spanish did when they came over in 1492 to the Hispanics, to the Mexicans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. This is what they was doing to them. Next slide. Read that.
Verse 27. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt.
So he said the Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt. Who's familiar with Moses? Y'all familiar with Moses taking the Israelites out of Egypt? One of the things that happened to Egypt, God caused the 10 plagues to come upon Egypt, which was various bad things that he had done to them. And one of them was sickness. So God said, the same sickness that I put on the Egyptians, I'm going to put it on you. Read.
And with the
Hemorrhoids, hemorrhoids. When you look deep into that word, that's talking about hemorrhoids. A lot of our people suffer from that. Hemorrhoids. Read.
And with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed.
Do not a lot of our people have certain diseases where they just live with it for the rest of their life until they die? Do they not? A lot of us got sick family members. I had a lot of sick family members. A lot of them not here. This is why. Next slide. Let's get some more images. This is showing you hemorrhoids, how it affects the body. The Bible was just talking about that. That's one of the things God put on our people. Why? Because we did not listen. It's just that simple. We are in this situation because we don't listen to God. Next slide. Those two verses.
Verse 28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart.
That's very important because it said the Lord will smite thee with madness. That's talking about mentally. You ever seen people walking around talking to themselves? They don't have a lot of centers for our people that suffer from mental illness or they got special needs. Why they not putting money into that? These is things that we suffer from. God said, I'm going to put that on you. Not only that, blindness. They ain't talking about being physically blind. That's talking about not knowing who you are. Not knowing that you God's chosen people. If I know I'm God's chosen people, I'm going to know it's a certain way I'm supposed to carry myself. If I don't, if I'm suffering from this blindness, I'm going to think I'm supposed to be a gangbanger. I'm going to think I'm supposed to be a drug dealer. I'm supposed to chase women all day. That's what I'm going to think I am. Because nobody's told me who I am. You follow what I'm saying? Read on.
Verse 29.
Hold on, it said that bottom part of 28. Astonishment.
Astonishment of heart.
Astonishment of heart. You don't know nothing about yourself. You don't know what's your next move. Where am I going? Read on.
Verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness.
That's us trying to find our way. When you grope, when you see a blind person, they like this, they trying to feel around for where they're supposed to go. That's us as a people. We don't know what we about to do because we lost. The Bible's showing us why we lost. We're not doing what God says. You know,
and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
It said we shall not prosper in our ways. That's why we don't have success in the black community. How many of us is successful? Not a lot. If you name somebody, it's one person. Who you gonna say? Jay-Z? That's one person. Oprah? That's one person. What about the rest of the people in the city they live in? Is all the blacks successful? You see that? Thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Read.
And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore.
We oppressed. They raise rent up in poverty-stricken neighborhoods. It's people paying almost $1,000 and it's shots ringing out their window. That's oppression. Then it say spoil evermore. It's always some type of new law or something that affect us, where other people benefit and we don't. Read on.
And no man shall save thee.
It said, and no man shall save thee. It's been plenty of people try to rise up, but none of them was able to save us. It's only one man that's going to save us, and that's Jesus the Christ, who is a black man. That's something else they don't teach us.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. It's nation time. And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, His word.